Hello everybody and welcome. Today we are looking at emailing from a Python program. Now in my day job I make a lot of machines and jazz, and it is very useful to have them email you from time to time, whether that's daily data dumps or just when something's gone wrong and you need to get to site to fix it. To do this we'll need to set up our email for SMTP, or Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. And as the name suggests, it's nice and simple. For this we'll be using Google as the SMTP server. Now, one of the reasons I'm making this video is they've recently updated how this service works on their back end. So if you made auto emails before and for some reason they've just stopped working, that is why. So welcome to my world. So in short, today we'll be setting up our email to be able to actually automatically send these SMTP emails. We'll be writing some basic code to just send text emails, and we'll be getting into a little more depth to be able to send emails with attachments, for example, CSV files. Okay, so let's get to it. Okie dokie. So the first thing we want to do is come into our email account to actually enable us to do SMTP emails. As I've said, we're doing this in Google and using the Google SMTP server. So you come up here and you click on your little icon and you go to manage your Google account. Once you're in here, click on security and then scroll down. Should say as well, to do this you need to have two-step verification on. I won't go into it in this video, but if it's not on, you won't have this app passwords selection thing here. When you set it up, this guy appears. So we're going to click on app passwords, pop in our email, and once we're in, we have this little menu. We're going to select the app we want to do, which is we'll just put other for this, and this bit is just for your own reference, just so if you've got a bunch of them you can know which password is which. So SMTP email, and we're just going to click generate. Now this is kind of a crucial bit. This is the one and only time you will be able to see this from Google anyway. So you're going to need to copy this and put it somewhere safe. So in emails, this is just a little folder I've made for this little project. We're just going to make a text file. And we're going to pop it in there, just as plain text. Save that, and now we have that code. And the second we press done, you will never be able to see that from Google again. If you lose it, you'll have to delete this and create a new one. At the end of this video, I'm going to be showing you how to come back in and get rid of this. And by the time this video is up, I will have done that. So this code, by the time you guys see it, you won't be able to send emails from my account, you cheeky little buggers. So let's crack on with the actual code. Okie dokie. So first off, we're going to have a crack at building a super simple just text email sender. Now these are great for when you just need some updates from something that's gone on site. So, you know, low oil level, something's broken, get the boys to site type email. So I've made this little folder on the desktop. The link to the GitHub of all of this will be in the description of this video, as always. So in here, we've got the password that we just did before. I have a random data CSV. We'll get onto that in a moment. And we have our two scripts, which are just completely blank at the moment. So the first thing we're going to want to do is import our libraries. And we're going to need two libraries for this, which is the SMTP lib and SSL. So pop those in now. Easy. And now what we want to do is set up our port and server number. So we're going to set these up as variables. You can call them whatever you want, but I'm going to call them SMTP port and SMTP server. Okay, so now we've put in our port and our server. The port, we have put 587, which is just your standard secure SMTP port, and the SMTP server, that is a string that we're making, and that string is smtp.gmail.com. So that is just letting the program know that this is the SMTP server that we want to be using, and hence us configuring our Google Gmail stuff before. And now this is super simple. So we're just going to make a message that pops up in the email. Now these are usually for when something goes wrong. So I'm just going to pop in, "Dear God, please help." So something's gone wrong. So next thing we want to do is create an object that is the context of this email. So we're going to just call this simple email context. I'll talk through when I've got it down. Okay, so we've made this thing called simple email context, and that is ssl.create default context, which is one of the things from this import SSL library. And now we've done that, we can move on to actually connecting to the server and sending these emails. And we do that by trying to connect to the server. So let's give that a go. All right, so what we have done here is we've given the making a server object called TIE server, and we're calling on this SMTP library to create this connection. So using these guys up here, and now we want to start this TLS using this context here. So that's just fed in here. It looks a bit weird, but context equals simple context. And now we want to log in using the credentials that we set up before. So we're going to come back up here and just add in our email address. And we're also going to put in the email that we want to send it to, and also the password. So just give me one moment. All right, so we're going to be emailing from our email to our own email. Obviously, you'd put a different email if you want to send it to a different email. Should say as well, this email I've just set up for YouTube. Feel free to email me at that address, but I very, very rarely actually check the mail in there, so please don't be offended if I don't get back to you quickly. Now what we need to do is grab our password that we copied from Google before and paste it in here as a string. Now generally you don't want to do this. This is just for demonstration purposes. You want to reference this externally so you don't leave your password hanging around in your code. But now we've done that. For this login, we can tell the login that we want to, forgot to change that over. We want to email from our email, and we want to log in using this password. And just some little printouts to let the user know what's going on. And now we actually want to send our password itself. So I'm going to use some F strings in this just to make it a bit clearer what's going on. Okay, so this will just let us know that it's trying to send, and it has successfully sent if it does. And in between these, we're going to send the actual email. And the arguments for this are the email that we're sending it from, which is this, and the email we're sending it to, because we've already done all the login stuff up here. Of course, it won't be an email without the message itself. So the third argument is the message. And that is that. So this is a try except. So we're just going to pop an except in just to fire out what problem has happened, if any. So this will just give us a kind of an explanation what's happened if the email fails to send for any reason. So either this is going to happen, so sending it properly, or not sending it properly. But either way, after we've done that, we want to close off that port, close off the server. So we're just going to do a finally. So let's give this a save, and we're going to bring over our terminal. Obviously we're in the same directory as this, and we're just going to run. We're going to run this Python text underscore email.py. One thing to note, because this really tripped me up when I was getting my head around all of this, if you call your script, email.py, which is very tempting, it won't work. It'll give some weird failures on the log, but it's just the name of the script itself. It can't be email.py. So don't name a function in their email as a function, and don't use email as the name for a script, because it's a bunch of reserved stuff that just trips you up. It'll be a long time to work that out. So let's run this code. Ah, how silly of me. These aren't strings. 1 second. Okay, let's try that again. Fantastic. And if you heard my phone buzz, looks like it's worked. So let's go check out our emails. Here we go. So, email from me, no subject. Dear God, please help. So we've done it. We've sent an email from Python code. So now let's delve a bit deeper and try and do it with a bit more gumph behind it, so we can put in subjects and we can actually attach useful stuff like CSV files and whatnot. Alrighty then. So we can go over to our with attachments script, empty as is. What we can do actually is copy over a load of this stuff to reuse it. So we don't actually need this SSL library for this, but we are going to need a few other libraries, which I'll just pop in now. Alright, so we're going to be using a library called MIME for this. So we just imported a bunch of stuff from there. So MIME text, MIME multipart, and MIME base. And we've also imported this encoders thing, which will allow us to encode it all in base 64 for sending over all the attachments and whatnot. What I'm also going to do, instead of sending just to one person, I'm going to make a list just to show you how to set this up to send it to a list of people rather than just one. So I'm just going to send it to myself 3 times, but obviously you can see how that works if you pop in different emails there. And what we're also going to add is a subject, which was lacking in the last one. There we go. So we're going to make ourselves a function to send this off. I'll just pop that in now. And again, we're not calling this just email or emails, because that causes problems. So the function is called send emails, and we're going to put in one argument for that, and that is going to be this email to. I'm going to change this to list so it's a bit clearer. So this is going to be one of the arguments in that function. And as we're looping through and sending these emails to different people, we're going to set up a loop. All right. So what we're going to do here is set up the body of the email itself. So we're going to call it body. And this is just going to be an F string. So this is just what is in the body of the email if you wanted to send any clever text. A nice little trick we can do as well, instead of sending it just as a string like that, we can put 3 of these like that. So now anything that we put inside of these triple air quotes, is going to have line breaks in as well. So we can do line 1, line 2, so we can get a bit of a nice format in the email without having to put a load of backslash ends everywhere to make it look pretty. And still with this, you can also pop an F beforehand, make it an F string if you wanted to put any variables that are read out in there as well. So now we've got the body of this, we're going to make an object that starts capturing all of the different parts of this kind of email package. So I'm going to call that MSG and start stringing this together. There we go. So we have created the object here, and we're just assigning parts of this object are different variable names. So where the email is coming from, the person, which is the current iteration through that list, and the subject, which we made up here. And now we've done that, we want to attach the body. So what we made here, we want to attach this to that same object message. Okay, so what we've done there is just said message.attach. We're calling this this mime text function from the library we've imported, and this body is this guy here. The text that is actually in the body of the email, and we're just saying that this is plain text. So that's what that little string is there. So that's the guts of the email itself. Let's have a look at how we actually attach a file. So in this folder here, I've got a CSV called random data. Have a look in there. It is just a table of just random data I put together. I'm in Excel, but this is actually a CSV file. So how do we attach that to the email? So I'm just going to do this as a straight up hard code of the name. But what I generally do for my things that I build, I have the data logged and time-stamped. Well, the name is the timestamp, and that can be fed into, well, you just put it as another argument in this function, that whatever the timestamp of that CSV is, that's what you are pulling in and making this message name equal to. So that's the name of the thing as a string, and obviously don't forget your .csv or whatever your file is at the end of that. So now we know what file we're looking for. We're going to open this file as open it to read, but as a binary. There we go. So I've just created this variable called attachment, and that is basically opening whatever the file is. And I've used this string here, RB. R is for reading the file, and B is for doing that as a binary. So that is what attachment then becomes. So once we've done that, we now need to encode it in base 64. So let's have a go at that. Okay, so, well, you can kind of see it yourself. It's a bit convoluted, but we're making a variable called attachment package, which is this MIME-based object, and we're just loading in the different bits and bobs. We're telling it to set the payload as the attachment itself, which is this binary file we've just opened, and then we're encoding it, adding some headers, what the actual file name is, blah 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 blah, and then lastly we're attaching that to this this MSG object that we were making before. What we're going to do now is just cast it to a string. I'm just going to call text. There we go, and this is the thing that will actually be firing into the email. Now we've cast it to that string. So now we've got all that set up. The playthrough is pretty similar to the last one, where we just start up connections with the server and then fire off this email. Do remember, however, we are in this loop, so we need to do it a bit different just to iterate through each of those emails that we have in that list. So let's connect with that server now. All right, so this should connect us with the server quite nicely. So again, we're just printing stuff out for the user just so they know where they are in the program. We're making, again, an object called TIE server, same as the last one. So the actual SMTP server and the port as arguments. We're starting up that TLS of that server, and then we're logging in using our email and our password. If that all works, then we let the user know that we've connected to that server. So once we're connected, we actually do the same thing. We send this email. There we go. So again, don't forget we are in this looping list here. So we're going to iterate through, and it's just TIE server.sendMail, and then who's the email from? The person, which is the iteration through that email list. In this case, it's just me 3 times, and then the text, which is what we cast the entire message to, including all the base 64 encoding stuff. And as always, just letting the user know what's going on. So once we've done all that, and once the list is completed, so backspace 1 are those tabs, we're going to make sure that we quit that server. So, and there we go. That is the entire function. So if we just call this function at the bottom, remember we need to put in the email list as an argument. Okay, so let's pull up our command line and see if this works. Again, I don't know if you can hear my phone buzzing, but that sounded like it worked. Let's have a look in our emails. Here we go. 3 emails from me. You can see now we have a subject line. In here we can see we have our nice line breaks, line 1, line 2, line 3, etc. And we've got our CSV nicely attached. So that's all well and good. Come out of this. What we want to do now is, well, obviously for the purposes of this YouTube video, I want to get rid of that password. But the process is exactly the same. So we come up here to our little icon, click him and manage our Google account, exactly the same as last time, into security. And we come down here and now we can see we have @passwords 1password. Click on that to go into it, re-enter our password. And here we go. So SMTP email. So this is the one we made earlier and we're going to bin this off. Good. So now that is gone forever. Even if I made a new one, it would be a completely different key and still wouldn't work with the code that we have written here that will be on GitHub. And just to show you that, if I try and run this code again, we're going to get this username and password not accepted. So we know that that deactivation has worked. So as always, the link to the GitHub where all of this code will be is in the description below. So have a free to download it, have a play around with it, put it into your own projects. If you have any questions, again, pop it in the comments, let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video.